Stay safe, reduce your contacts. Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1.
Good afternoon, I'm Julie Smyth. Today's top stories. The World Health Organization investigates the safety of the AstraZeneca vaccine. The Taoiseach says he didn't break the law when he leaked a confidential GP document. And in sport, as Cheltenham gets underway, all eyes will be on Honeysuckle in this afternoon's Champion Hurdle. Experts have been meeting over the safety of the AstraZeneca vaccine. It's over reports of blood clots experienced by some people who received the drug. Josh Crosby reports.
Experts from the World Health Organization's Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety are meeting to investigate concerns around blood clots in a small number of people who received the AstraZeneca injection. Ireland is among a growing list of countries that have temporarily stopped using the vaccine. The European Medicines Agency's current position is that the benefits outweigh the risks. Dr Mary Favier, who's a member of NEFID, says it was a tough decision to suspend its use.
You're somewhat damned if you do and damned if you don't. But I think people would prefer to know that it was safe.
The EMA is to provide an update on the investigation into the vaccine this afternoon, while a decision is expected on Thursday. Professor of Experimental Immunology at Trinity College, Kingston Mills, hopes it will be given the all-clear.
Whatever way the decision goes on Thursday, Ireland will row in behind that.
Health experts in the UK and Australia say they don't have any issues with the AstraZeneca dose.
From my perspective, I do not see that there is any specific link between the AstraZeneca vaccine and blood clots.
We really don't want to damage worldwide confidence by scare stories.
Meanwhile, the European Commission has agreed with Pfizer for 10 million more vaccines to be delivered to member states in Q2 of this year. It's expected this will mean an extra 100,000 doses for Ireland.
The administration of the COVID vaccine to octogenarians is continuing in Waterford. Kilmeaden couple Michael and Anne Cronin were among those to receive their jabs at the HSE's Waterford Primary Care Centre this morning. Tiger-based GP Tygo Carl also received enough supply to vaccinate approximately 90 patients over the age of 80 today. The Taoiseach says he didn't break the law when he leaked a confidential GP document. A criminal investigation is underway after Leo Varadkar passed the file to a friend almost 2 years ago. He says calls for him to resign by Sinn Féin are double standards. The Taoiseach says Gardaí haven't been in touch yet and insists he didn't commit a crime.
I didn't do anything illegal or corrupt or self-interested. There was no personal gain, no personal benefit, did no harm to anyone and conferred no advantage on anyone. And again, just finally for the record, because I do see reports to the contrary in some newspaper articles, this was not a cabinet document. It was not a cabinet secret. It was not a budget secret. It was not classified. It wasn't even a contract. It was an agreement about changes to a contract.
Waterford Council's Chief Executive has expressed concerns about a proposed wind farm on the Waterford-Cork border. Cairns Energy Limited has applied to construct 17 turbines on a site north of Killa, County Cork, which stretches into Tallow. But Michael Walsh's report into the development has expressed concerns on the assessments conducted by the company. As it's a strategic infrastructure development, Waterford Council is bypassed and it goes straight to On Board Planola for a decision. Sinn Féin's Conor McGuinness says wind farm developments must be done with care.
Opposition to this particular planning application is not the same as opposition to wind energy. Personally believe, and it's the position of my party, and I'd say it's the position of most right-thinking people, that the development of wind energy is a progressive thing and needs to happen. We need to move away from fossil fuels. We need to look at renewable sources of energy generation. But let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater, as it were. Let's ensure that the development of wind energy is careful, that we're forward-thinking.
Dozens of demonstrators are holding a socially distanced protest in Dublin this afternoon to mark the killing of 33-year-old Sarah Everard in London. Gardaí are taking details of those who are attending, who could now be issued with fines due to restrictions around non-essential travel. But Rossa, the feminist group which organised the Reclaim the Streets demo, says it's necessary. Emma Quinn is an activist with Rossa.
A report from the European Fundamental Rights Agency said that 83% of women change the way they live, change the way they walk, change the way they move every day. So in reality, women have restrictions their whole lives. So this for us is an essential protest. And we'll be looking for people to support us. We want to raise the issue. We want the politicians to prioritise it.
A Waterford-based addiction counsellor says Cheltenham can be a very triggering time for people. It's the 1 week of the year that gambling becomes normalised. Barry Grant from Extern Problem Gambling says they're not anti-gambling, anti-horse racing or anti-Cheltenham.
A lot of people get a lot of enjoyment from it, and a lot of people gamble moderately at this time of the year. I suppose our concern is for people who might be prone to developing gambling problems, this relentless exposure to gambling, advertising and financial inducements to gamble through free bets. And then there are people who are in recovery from gambling problems who are trying to continue to abstain from gambling, and this is a very triggering time for them.
Up to 200 post offices could close over the next 18 months unless the government provides financial support before June. A Grant Thornton report has recommended an annual public service obligation of €17 million be put in place for the post office network. The Irish Postmasters Union believes this could come in the form of an annual government retainer payment and says it's willing to provide more services going forward. Its General Secretary, Ned O'Hara, has told the Joint Oireachtas Committee on Transport and Communications that urgent action is required.
We need political backbone to make a decision, and we would ask this committee to provide that political backbone. The investment compared to what the money that has gone into the banks is minuscule. There's a return of between 334 and 776 million. And if there's no action, the network is going to disappear. It will decline and disappear, and people will wonder what happened there.
It's an exciting time for Waterford as major investments are set to transform the city centre within the next decade, according to the council's economic director. Yesterday saw a major boost with almost €28 million in government funding for more than 20 projects centring around the Viking Triangle and Cultural Quarter areas. This comes soon after the commitment of another €110 million for the North Quays in November. Waterford Council's Director of Planning and Economic Development, Michael Quinn, says it will be a couple of years before any activity on the ground is evident.
Realistically, we're looking at a couple of years out before you see any significant progress made on the projects, and you are probably looking at a 5-year, maybe a little bit longer, 6-year, 7-year delivery programme to bring all of the elements of the project through to successful conclusion.
Councillors in Waterford City have given a broad welcome to the urban regeneration funding for the city centre. Independent councillor Mary Roach says it's extraordinarily positive.
This really opens up the vision for the city and brings it from the east right down to the west, and then from the North Quays to Michael Street and the Apple Market. There'll be a perfect spine there in Waterford. And I think that particularly post-COVID, it will really open up Waterford to develop in a way that we never really could have envisaged. And I want to thank Rupert and Michael Quinn and everybody who's been involved in the project. It's a transformative for Waterford, and I'd love to see it coming to fruition over the next few years.
Make the smart play with Virgin Media. Check out their smart home packages at Virgin Media George's Street, Waterford.
Sponsors of the sports news on WLR.
Well, the 2021 Cheltenham Festival kicks off shortly with 7 races on the card, featuring a vintage renewal of the Champion Hurdle at 3:05. Rachel Blackmore will bid to become the first woman rider to win the feature race. The Tipperary jockey will be aboard the unbeaten favourite Honeysuckle, trained in Waterford by Henry de Bromhead. Henry says everything has gone well in terms of preparation.
Yeah, she's pretty laid back. Coleman Comfort rides her nearly every day, and he gets on great with her. And then she's in Emmett Rare's yard, so he looks after her. He takes his life in his hands every evening trying to brush her. I went to brush her the other day. She nearly killed me. She's become a real prima donna. She's either trying to kick you or bite you, but you'll take any of that. In fairness, so yeah.
The going is on the soft side for the first of the 7 races this afternoon. The first goes to post at 1:20. Cheltenham coverage is brought to you by the Irish Field. Don't forget your copy every Saturday. To rugby now, and CJ Stander looks set to play his last match for Ireland this Saturday when they face England at the Aviva Stadium. The Munster forward has announced he'll retire when his contract expires on the 27th of June. With a summer tour down under to face the Pacific Island nations looking increasingly unlikely, the final Six Nations match of the year looks to be his last chance to wear the green jersey. Stander would still be available to play for the British and Irish Lions, who've yet to confirm details of where they'll play their series against South Africa. And World Rugby has announced a new international women's competition called the WXV Tournament. 16 teams will be involved, with games being spread across 3 tiers. The competition, which will begin in 2023, has been called a landmark moment by World Rugby chairman Bill Beaumont. To soccer now, and Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola believes his current team are the worst he's been in charge of. The Premier League leaders are still in the running for 4 trophies this season, and tonight will look to secure a place in the Champions League quarter-finals. City are leading 2-0 ahead of their home leg against Borussia Mönchengladbach, which is being played in Budapest. Guardiola says this team will prove itself when they win some silverware.
Right now is worse than the previous ones because the previous ones won a lot and this team this year didn't win anything. We are evaluated for the results, for the success, for the titles we can lift.
Elsewhere, Real Madrid host Atalanta with Real leading 1-0 from the first leg. Both games kick off at 8. Sports news on WLR is thanks to Virgin Media Waterford.